Hi everyone, and thanks for tuning in for another video where I spill the tea on a tarot deck. My name is Debbie and I am from Spill the Tea Leaf Readings and More. I do tarot card readings and tea leaf readings. If you're interested in getting a reading from me, you can comment below, message me, or email me at info@spillthetealeaf.com. Today we are looking at the Herbcrafter's Tarot, written by Latisha Guthrie, with artwork by Joanna, Powell, Colbert, or Colbert. I'm not sure how you pronounce your name. And this is a deck that I picked up when I was in Salem last year because it features herbs and plants and flowers and trees, and I could stand to learn a little bit more about all of those things. Of course, have I looked at this deck since I got it? Not really, because I have so many tarot decks. But now that I've taken this out to show you, I'm really excited about working more with it myself. So let's start just by looking at the box. It's a nice big box. It's the kind of box that I tend to refer to as a collector's box, because it's nicer than your typical cardboard one, although it's not the nicest box of this nature that I've seen. It is good, and it has a pull string, which I like to make it easier to get the cards out. So it's a nice sturdy box. I'm looking at the cards. Here we have Major Arcana. And you'll notice that the numbers and the names of the cards do match up with the traditional decks. And then it also tells you the name of the flower in each one. And you can tell in the Major Arcana that even though these are all plants and not people like you might be used to, you can tell based on other things that these do really match up. Like this very clearly is the Empress, you know, doesn't matter that it's rose. You can just tell. And I also like that, you know, clearly thought is put into this, the fact that, you know, cacao is used for the Hierophant, which is a very ritualistic drink in some cultures. So while this deck is one that you need to use your intuition for, the meanings and the intention behind the cards are very traditional in terms of, you know, what you normally think of when you think of tarot cards. They line up pretty well. And I just think these cards are beautiful. And I'm hoping that I'll get to learn some new things about the plant world. Since I don't know a lot about plants. I'm not really a nature girl per se. I need to be better. I need to work more with nature and ground myself a little bit more and all that. So I'm hoping this deck can help me with that. All right, so the suits, they took out the normal symbols and just put in the elements. So this is fire rather than wands. But each suit and element also does have a symbol that runs throughout it. And this one is the mortar and pestle. It's not in every card, but it does show up fairly often. All right, so we need to talk about the court cards. They're different. They don't feature people, although you can see hands in, I think, just about all of them. So here you have Hija for daughter, Adelita for warrior, Madre for mother, and Curandera for wise woman or healer. And those are the court cards. In terms of how they line up traditionally, they're all women in these court cards. But they line up pretty well with the page, knight, queen, king in terms of level of expertise and maturity. So they're not very different. It's just a different feel to them. So here is water, and the kettle is the symbol that pops up for this suit. Now the plants that are used in this deck are all native to the southwest of the United States, and I'm sure Mexico, and maybe even, you know, down further into Central and South America. That is where the creators are from. So some of these are familiar because they're things that we have all over, or they're kitchen staples. And then there are some that I know I've never heard of before, or if I've heard of them, they're not things that we have around as much. All right, so air. I would love if there were a deck like this that were a little bit more universal and not just focused on one small area of the world, or if they created a deck like this for different areas, so you could buy the one that's, you know, where I'm from, the northeast of the United States, or you could buy one that's, you know, country specific in you know, Europe, or I don't know. So the symbol that goes with air, I'm not sure I'm going to say it correctly, but you've probably seen it several times here. Bowline. It's a knife. It usually is curved like this. You can see a couple of them in this card too. So that's the symbol that goes with air in this deck. All right, and finally, earth. And you can see baskets are the symbol that go with this suit. All right, so you've seen all the cards. I hope you like the artwork as much as I do. I really find these cards to be beautiful. And they're different and unique, and I love that. So there's obviously a guidebook. It's pretty thick. It's nice. Nothing on the back there, but there's the cover. Okay. And there are the names of the creators, so in case I butchered them, you can see them for yourself. So this book has a lot in it. There's a table of contents. Normally, I keep the cards in the order that they're packaged, and I didn't for this. You can tell they're packaged by numbers, other than the major arcana, of course. And if I did that, I would have had 11 piles instead of 5. So that would have just been not manageable. So this is a nice book. It has an introduction. You know, talks about the deck, who is an Herbcrafter, is that top part there. It tells you about the suits. It talks about the types of herbs they picked for each number and why. There's a lot of information in here. And each card, regardless of whether it's major or minor arcana, has a whole page, which I love. It has, you know, what the card is, the plant, the Latin name. It has the meanings. It has, you know, like a fuller interpretation of the card, and then crafting with the whatever the card is, which is super cool. And there's different crafts for each of these. So, you know, you get these for all of the cards. So here are some more major arcana ones. Moving the camera on you, sorry. But then also when you get to the minor arcana, it does the same thing. So there's a whole introduction to the minor arcana. It talks about the suits individually, numbers, and then the people. So the court cards. So there's lots of pages just introducing the minor arcana. And then there's also another page for each number as you're going into it. And as you saw in the table of contents, these are arranged by number and not by suit. But you can see these cards each have, again, a full page, same as the major arcana. And this is rare. This doesn't usually happen, that you get all the same information, that if the major arcana has a full page, that the the minors will as well. So I really love that. Is this missing anything? I guess it's missing a picture of the card, but that's not really necessary because you do have the cards. So as nice as it is when books include that, I don't mind the loss of that in here. All right, so that's all the cards. And again, you know, a whole page for each court card type before you get into them. And then, all right, so it tells you how to use the deck and gives you suggestions. I think I need to start doing a card a day with this deck to get used to it. But it tells you, you know, how to ask questions, how to tell a story with the cards. And then it gives you suggestions for, come on, focus. It gives you suggestions for connecting with the herbs. And it also has a note on reversals. And basically what it says is it wasn't created to be read reversed. But if you want to read it reversed, here's how to do so. So my philosophy tends to be that if there's no, if the intention behind the deck is not to read it reversed, I do not read reversed. But it's nice that they thought of that and understand that there are people who do read reversed. So speaking of reading, this then goes into spreads. These spreads aren't really unique, but I appreciate that there's a few of them in here to choose from. So there's a couple 3-card spreads rather, some 5-card spreads, including a directional one, and then a year ahead spread, which is done by holidays rather than by months or zodiac, which is the norm. And then the craft activities. So it tells you how to actually do the crafts that are suggested. So for example, if it talks about an incense, you can learn here how to actually make incense. And so it has a few pages of this before it gets to artist information. So you can read about the creators and about the artwork specifically. And then there's also a few pages of bibliography where you can learn more about herbs and tarot cards. I don't know. I want to pause here for a moment because Rachel Pollack just passed. So I'll just point that out real quick. May her memory be a blessing. So that's the deck. I'm excited to work with it. I didn't do a deck interview yet with it because I'm nervous about it. I am. So I need to start pulling a card a day and just start working with it. But I hope you enjoyed seeing the deck. Let me know what your thoughts are on it. If you'd like a reading from this deck, please let me know. I'd love to do that for you. You can comment below, you can message me, or you can email me at info@spillthetealeaf.com for a reading from this deck or another, or a tea leaf reading. If you haven't subscribed to my videos yet, please do so. I'm hoping to introduce some new content next month, and you'll be the first to know if you're subscribed. And that's all I have to say. So thanks so much for watching this video, and have a wonderful day. Bye.